Folks, welcome back to another Get Wired podcast episode. And in these episodes, what I like to do is I like to do kind of like a work with me kind of session. Usually we're over cutting wire, but I actually sold a lot of my wire just the other day. So I actually don't have that much of it. So I've just been processing clothing and hanging out with you guys, having a conversation. And I had an interesting topic come up that I really want to address and go through with you all. I'm just going to read it out and then I'm going to go over and do some work so you can get cozy, get comfortable, and you can work with me. Probably go for about 20 minutes or so. But I guess the reason why I wanted to talk about this was the comment, it's hit me pretty hard because one, it's annoyed me. It's frustrated me, but at the same time, it's like I can feel that the individual is annoyed and frustrated too. So I want to talk because I resonate with it. I've been there and I am there all the time. So I really want to talk about that today and really just get into it, break it down a little bit and try and look at it from a perspective of a holistic view and not really focus too much on narrow reselling, but it's going to be obviously quite detailed to reselling because that was where the comment came from a video in regards to, wholesale and things like that. So that's my intention for this one. Get cozy, buckle up. I'm just going to pull up the comment and I'm going to read it out. And I do appreciate people leaving comments and asking questions because, it opens up some really great conversations and a chance to talk about things. So the question came from Zendomia. Great video. You are so lucky to have all that inventory. I am trying to upscale slowly, but after trying to order bulk online from online wholesalers such as Oz Vintage or Rare King, etc., so they're obviously in Australia, I have lost all interest. Utterly crap, and they have sent me, Impossible to make a profit off their items. Thrifting is no longer an option, either as prices are too high or mostly non-branded items. Not sure how it is possible to upscale. I guess if you do not have reliable clients, contacts to source from, then growing is not an option. Now, this frustrated me simply because it's like, one, I am not lucky. If anything, I have built and created all of the opportunity, which would seem that I'm lucky. Like, just to be frank, to get this off the bat, this is what annoyed me, is I've worked very, very hard for the last 5 years to make this work. I've spent over $100,000 in buying stock. Some of that obviously has, not made it through, has not been good. I've done trial and error. I've had to figure it out. I've solved the problems. And that is why I don't make a lot of profit. That is number one reasons why I don't make a lot of profit is because I'm constantly always changing, adapting, trying new things and iterating to get it right. And that's the cost of building something of the type of business of what I'm trying to create where, sure, I know people that can go out to thrift shops and they can get things for $3, $5, maybe not much anymore, but they're able to then go sell it for $50, $60 and make a really good profit. But I don't want to do that. I want stock coming in and I want to have a team doing it and I want to be working on them bigger things and have it ticking over. But that comes at a premium cost because it's getting delivered to the door, which we're going to talk about. So just want to say that definitely not lucky, worked very hard to get here. So I guess I would rather say I didn't get lucky, I created my luck. And that's something that we all should be doing. And then the other components of all of this that I want to address is, you've tried to upscale slowly, to order bulk from wholesalers, and you haven't got a good result, which I feel I get it. And look, I can't speak for every supplier in Australia. I have not used every supplier. I've used a lot, and there's some really good ones, and there's some really bad ones. And Oz Vintage, again, I'm not going to put any opinion against them. Oz Vintage can't really speak for. Rare King, I have used Rare King. I would probably, just like Judder, believe they're actually probably the best in Australia. 100%. So there's, I want to understand what is the situation here. And we did have a conversation and continued on and, now they're reaching out to a few other people and there's not that many, et cetera, et cetera. But that's the topic that I want to get into today. And there's a few different areas on it. So look, we're going to go sort some clothing while I do this. But I think the three areas is like, it's not about access equals success. And it's not about, you just go do this and then it's just going to help you scale. And then also, are you reacting or are you planning ahead with strategy? And I think this is where we've got to be super mindful of how we are building our side hustles or our flipping businesses or resale business. And you know me, I'm here not to tell you how to build your business. I'm going to give you insights, try and help you understand what that looks like and what it means. But at the same time, can you see me there? At the same time, it's like, it's different for everyone. It's a very different combination, a very different journey for everyone. And I want to make sure people understand that it's not as easy as maybe it looks. So the first thing I want to talk about is access does not equal success. Look, you've got access to the same suppliers that I had at the very start as well. And I'll be frank, when I started as well, I couldn't really understand how this was going to be feasible. And to be honest, a lot of people have always said to me that, Chris, there's no way for you to be profitable. You can't do this if you just go with wholesale clothing. It costs too much, and it does. It costs way too much money, to be honest. But then at the same time, I've also been having to wash the items. So let's say you get something for $12. It's going to end up costing me about $13.50 after I've washed it. So when you put that into perspective, all of a sudden that cost goes up, and then you've got to have the ability to, photo it, list it. I apologize for the yawning. You've got to have the ability to do all those things. So you have to understand there needs to be some level of trial and error, right? Access does not equal success, because I was building quite a lucrative business before I even had or doing wholesale clothing. I didn't start with wholesale clothing. I started with, books and media and pop culture and different things from the op shops. But I did realize soon enough that wasn't going to be feasible. I soon realized that, like you, it's not sustainable. But at the same time, I didn't want to build a business which, I have to do everything, because stuff that, I don't want to do that. But I want to build a business that's going to last time. But of course, that's going to cost money, because, I'm outsourcing the washing, I'm outsourcing the listings, I'm outsourcing the photography, I'm outsourcing a lot of stuff. I've got staff doing that. When I say outsourcing, I've got staff helping me achieve that. So you've got to really understand that you can't base your success off, an external factor. Yes, a supplier is going to be a key component of that, but if that supplier walks away tomorrow, that means your business is done. So you need to build a business model that can sustain itself through multiple sources of stock, of product. I buy from 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5 regular individuals or regular suppliers. 90% of that is local, like onshore, Australia. 10% of that is international. And then there's a couple of other people that I kind of have some ongoing arrangements with, whether it's consignment deals and stuff like that. Now, of those deals, I think only one of them has happened through YouTube. One of them as a supplier, they reached out to me and they identified, oh, Chris, you do this, can we do some business together? And I was like, yeah, okay, let's talk, let's figure it out, and let's do it. So that has come to life, I'm not gonna lie. That's come to life, and that's been really good for me. But the rest of them has kind of just been through conversations, connecting with people, telling people what I do. I mean, I've got some relationships with some op shops as well, which I would highly recommend. If you can help solve a problem for them, then, you can get some really great results. Business isn't about, business is essentially just problem solving. And obviously it's a problem solving process to get to where you want the business to be, but also it's a problem solving situation around what are you solving for your customer? And your customers aren't necessarily the ones that are buying. You got to look at it from reverse. Your customers aren't always necessarily the ones buying from you off eBay. Your suppliers are also customers to you as well, because you're solving a problem for them, right? And you want to obviously make a good deal, but obviously, you're their customers too. But just remember that you've got the ability you've got cards on the table as well. So I want to make sure you understand that it's like access doesn't necessarily mean success, because I know people that have a lot of stock and they don't know how to move it. They don't know how to sell it. And therefore, they require someone else to get involved in that situation to help them be successful. So just because you have lots of stock doesn't mean it solves all your problems. So that's the first point. The second point that I want to discuss is scaling, and then having, scaling without systems. You've said that you've gone out, you've tried these stuff, and it was not profitable. I don't understand how it's not profitable, because my business now in the warehouse, even prior to getting e-waste, when we started with clothing and I was in storage units, was built off wholesale clothing. I understand the premium pricing. I understand the cost of having to, clean it. So I don't understand why you're not being able to make a profit from it. That either tells me it's either the wrong categories being purchased, or maybe is it how you're selling the items in terms of, is it price point? Is it, keywords? Are you not getting the listings right? Are they not strong listings? I also know probably 3 other people that buy from those exact suppliers, and they're profitable as well. So I want to understand why what's going on to make you think that way. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I got some of my first bales, there was some very frustrating moments where I'm like, how am I going to make money from this? This isn't feasible. We don't make a lot of money from our clothes, right? We sell a lot of volume, like we've done 1,000 items this month, and yeah, I mean, like 1,000 items, and our ASP is about 40, I think it's 41. All right. So if you're buying stuff for $12 and you're selling it for like 40, 45 bucks after fees and postage, you're not walking away with much. And that's the challenge of doing clothing. So it's really about sourcing really good product that you consistently can sell to a customer. Now, you've also got to understand, well, how much are you pricing these items for? What is the value you are creating for your customers? What are you giving them the opportunity to say, this is too good to say no for, right? I mean, I think that's something which a lot of people forget to talk about, which is, what is your value proposition? Don't just be someone that's building a business just because everyone else is and you can see that there's money to be made. But if you want to stand long-term success, you need to know, how am I going to win and continuously win customers over? A good example of this is, for instance, today, actually last night, I had one customer purchase 11 shirts. And they said they would have bought more, but there was an issue with my combined postage tool, and they weren't able to buy any more, so they only bought 11. So one, they didn't see the value if they had to pay more, but because they were able to pay for a certain price for the 11, and they got some discounts automated from that combined postage, they were very happy to proceed. And that to them was a good value proposition. So you think about it, I'm one seller, and if there's another 10 of people selling the same shirts, right? Rather than go to 10 different people to buy the shirts, they've come to me and buy all 11, right? And that tells me that I have the ability to be able to flex on that, right? I'm able to, when I say flex on that, I mean, that's leverage for me. I offer a value proposition for people to get exactly what they want, the amount they want, and for a price that's fair. And, it ships the next day. So you got to look at it from that side of like, well, the only way that I was able to do that is through system, right? I can get on the phone right now, just like you, call up one of these suppliers and purchase, 3 bales of Levi's jeans. Cool. You're going to get this, it's going to be random either way. I'm going to get random jeans. You're going to get random jeans. I can have them all listed and processed within the week, guaranteed, because I can open them today, send them out for washing, have them back in 2 days, and then we can photo them probably all in 1 and 2 days. So yeah, probably actually will take me about 7 days, maybe 10 days to get them all listed. And in doing so, I know that after we've listed them at the right price bucket, that at the moment this year, it's about 30%, but I'll talk from last year's results. On average, every item that we list, 20% of those items will sell within 7 days, right? And I know that on the basis of doing so many reps. So I know the ASP of those jeans. I know the value of what people are willing to pay for a premium versus non-premium, what defines a premium, doesn't define a premium pair. And I've got a process for all this. It's a workflow. It's a, it's a system, right? I have the team do it. And because now I know how that works, I know that if we can do so many of them and I can pay other people to do it, it will work. The beauty for you is if you're not looking to, sorry, I just need to fix something over here. I put something in the wrong spot. If you're not looking to scale in the sense of, have staff and all that stuff, which you don't need staff. You can do this all by yourself, or you can build a business similar to mine, like have staff and all that. Doesn't matter. I don't care. But the beauty is you don't have to do all that from day one. Ideally, you want to build this system out yourself, and you should be even more profitable because you won't have overheads. So I am confused of when people say they can't make profit from clothing, why? It just does not make sense to me. I mean, I've been trying to get my cost of good down for a very, 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 very long time. Last year, the average cost of good when buying stock, until I got my newest supplier, was like $12 for a piece of clothing on average. Some of it was closer up to 15, some of it was 20. Our biggest deal that we did, we paid $18 a piece, right? I mean, and that was a lot of money for over, 1,400 pieces. So I think people need to understand that you have to run the numbers. You have to understand what are you trying to achieve and what result are you expecting. One of my suppliers that I buy from now is I buy B grade stuff from a certain type of B grade. B grade can be thrown around very loosely, and that gives me an advantage of a certain type of product. It also means that, it means I can't get top dollar for it, but it does give me some really good opportunities in terms of some cheaper stock and the ability to, have a good variety of stock. We sell men's, we sell women's, we sell everything in between. That's the other thing you need to think about. What are you selling? What categories are you selling? Who is your customer? What demographic are you trying to sell to? Are you selling women's? Are you selling men's? Are you selling vintage? Are you selling seasonal? Are you selling trending? Are you selling style-based fashion? All these different things. So, leads me to my next point, which is essentially strategy. You got to have a strategy in place. You can't just be in reaction mode. When I first purchased my first Levi's bales, which is what I did when I started, I ran so many numbers. I mean, you could ask my business mentor at the time. We spent a couple of weeks in my 1 hour sessions just crunching numbers, going through it. And I said, mate, if this is right, it's free money. And he couldn't believe it as well, right? He said, you got to validate this, because we worked out that if I buy a bale of this, sell it for an average price, and this was out before I had overheads, I said, if I sell this many, it's just free money. And we tried it and it worked. But then as I started to scale, what I didn't really take into consideration was the overhead costs. And that's when things started to get a little bit of a challenge, but we're still here and we're still charging on. So you have to ask yourself, what is your strategy? And this then ties up together your value proposition, your approach with systems, and what are you actually providing to your customer? Like I said, anyone can jump in and just start purchasing online and purchasing, wholesale bales off the internet. Anyone can do it. But what will set you apart is the ability to be able to execute on that and provide a really good premium product to your customer base, right? Are you consistent enough to do it? What is your strategy? Are you price bucketing, or are you just pricing things randomly? I think that's where a lot of people get wrong. What a lot of people get wrong is we think it's as simple and easy as what is shown on the internet. And I'm not just referring to myself. I don't really talk about the products I'm selling in general anymore, because I'm not doing the postage. I can't show it. But when you start to think about those things, what are you offering? How much are you charging for things? The postage that you're offering, the discounts you provide when people buy multiple items, all these different things all add up to how someone perceives the value of what you're selling. You need to have a strategy. I'm not here to tell you need to build a big business like mine. If you just want to flip on the side, part-timer, that's great. Do that, but you can still do it really, really well. And some of my clients or customers that I work with, I source for them and I sell to them directly. That's another way you could do it. Find what people want, source for them, and I'll buy it off you. You want to source for me, and I'll buy it off you. But, they're a part-timer, they don't do it full-time, and they say, this is what I want. I will give you this much money for it, and, unlimited quantities. You tell me when you've got this much and I'll come pick it up. And I just build a pile of stuff over time, and then I say, hey, I've got this much, you want to come buy it? They'll come buy it, and we do a deal. It's a strategy. For them, they don't have to go out and source for it, right? They've got it working in motion, in parallel. They work another job, they do other things, but that's coming in on the side. My laptop guy works a full-time job. He does the laptops on the side. I put him aside the laptops, he comes, gets what he needs, so he can build his business. My point is, what's your strategy here? Don't just jump on and think, I can start flipping items because other people are doing it. And I know like that's the way to start, and you have to kind of do that to get the vibe and figure out what's your groove. But if you want to make this work, and when I say make this work, if you want it to achieve what you want it to achieve, right? I don't want to be here saying you have to build a huge business and all that. I don't want to tell you that, because that's not what I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you that whatever you want this to be for you, small thing, a means to an end, whatever it is, you got to have a strategy of what that looks like. That strategy should include how you're going to do your business, what the business looks like, how you're going to sell it to the customer, what is your value proposition, but also, if this is a means to an end, what's your exit strategy? How are you getting out of this, right? And I'm not saying you have to have that all, there's something in that, that's gross. I'm not saying you have to have that all figured out in detail, but you need to have it in the back of your mind and working towards it. For me, what's my exit plan? Well, my exit plan has always been that, for me, it's to scale up into the business, become more of direction, like a CEO, as we expand and doing that kind of stuff. And then eventually, whether it's I retire and get out of the business and the business goes on without me. So that's a very long-term business. That's going to take a long time. And not everyone wants that. And I get that. And I don't expect everyone to want that, because it's a lot of work. So if you're feeling frustrated that you can't get sales, or you can't make a profitable purchase, or you can't get enough sourcing in terms of what you want, you have to think outside the box. You need to be looking in different ways. I have offered in my YouTube, videos, I've said if someone wants, if someone's looking for something, a type of product, and I can get it and I don't want it, and I can sell it to you and I can make money and you can make money, we will do a deal, right? So I would love to understand the expectations. And sorry, that was one other point that I didn't cover. Expectation setting of what you're trying to get. If you're expecting to get wholesale clothing at ridiculous cheap prices, that's going to demand more than $40 per piece, it's tough. And, I also recommended to, the individual that 2 Aussie thrifters, they have their stock box, which is, very nice price point. I think it's $5 boxes and $10 boxes. There might even be a lower one. But I think where a lot of people get caught with that, this is nothing against 2 Aussie thrifters, is, there's men's boxes, there's women's boxes, and there's mixed boxes. But people don't want to I don't want to have to deal with women's, or I don't want to have to deal with men's. The way you grow, the way that you get access to more stock and the ability to grow is do both categories. Because me doing this, I'm going through 50 pieces of clothing right here, right? I actually haven't really been looking at the labels. I've just been putting them into skirts and stuff like that. I like putting into categories. So what is this? This is I don't even know what this is. This is an Anthea Crawford collection, AC. This is obviously a corporate skirt, nice piece. I have never sold this brand before. I have no idea what it's worth, but I trust my suppliers that it is. I'm going to look it up. Maybe I'll get $10 for it. Maybe I'll get $20. Maybe it's worth $40. I have no idea. But because I've built the relationship with those suppliers, I'm happy to take what I get and work with it and discover, how do I sell this? That's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point I'm trying to make here is you need to be willing to learn. You need to be willing to try new things. Because we moved into women's clothing, all of a sudden, we've got access to a new customer demographic. And now when I'm sourcing or looking, I'm like, oh, I've sold that before. I know what that is. I can sell it. I know I can make more money. That's how you source better, by growing your knowledge. Because if you know more, you can understand what to buy. You go into the op shop, you say you can't buy anything. Are you looking in the women's rack? Are you looking in the men's rack? What about books? What about media? Like, if you're doing clothing, obviously we can only speak clothing in this instance. But like, I don't mean to say that this is easy, but when people tell me that you can't make a profit doing this, I say BS, because I'm doing it and I'm not making a lot of profit, which I'm very clear on. You watch the end of my video, you can see my profits. It ain't much at all, but that's because I'm building it for the longer term. And yeah, understand what your expectations is. If you're expecting to make $100,000 profit from clothing a year, it is possible, but you have to have a low cost of goods. That is the only way to do it. But you can't have a low cost of good and compromise on quality. That's the catch. Now, I know there is some people that have been able to achieve that because they've been able to open up some really great deals and opportunities. They're not lucky. I guess they're just innovative. They've come up with brilliant ways. They've come up with a nice business model. They've figured out how to solve a problem for someone else and buy their stock off them. And they're able to reap the rewards of that. Now, look, I'm happy to continue this conversation. I don't want to come across as this person has got it all wrong, because I understand the frustration. Every time we try to scale up, I'm not satisfied with the result. It's no, we need to get the cost of good down. How do we get the cost of good down? How do we, minimize expenses? This month, we've had so many expenses. So I'm now looking, where do I cut costs? Where can I find $1 per item? Where can I find 50 cents per item? It's frustrating. It's very annoying because everything keeps going up and it gets very hard and there's more people competing. But I think when you pull things apart, niche down, focus on something, build something that's replenishable, build something that's really good value. If you're just focusing on jeans or shorts or skirts or whatever, maybe you're building a store that's focused to a particular category within a niche of clothing. That's maybe a better way to be able to build a nice, beautiful business. But I'm happy to continue this conversation because I understand that it's not as easy of me just coming on here and saying, I don't agree, or do this or do that or whatever. There's so many nuances to this, and details and situations are completely different. My situation's different. I've had capital to be able to invest into the business. Not everyone has that. To go buy a bale that might cost $1,500. Not everyone has that. You can get smaller boxes maybe. I do a little bit of wholesale where maybe I can help you out, here or there. But again, that's not consistent. And I don't like selling low-end stock to people if they don't understand how to sell it, because then it just looks like I'm getting rid of low-end stock. I can't sell, $15 t-shirts simply because, or $20 t-shirts, because I need to be making a higher ASP to cover all the expenses. So I'd rather sell those $15, $20 t-shirts for $3 to someone else, and then they can go make a nice profit, right? So those kind of things are the dynamics that I have to look at. Whereas, if you can get, 100 tees for $3 and you can sell them for $20, you're going to make a good profit. So really more than happy to continue this conversation and really help people achieve what it is that they're trying to achieve. If I don't have the answer, I'll tell you, and I'll hopefully be able to direct you to someone that can give you the answer. Look, that's it from me. More than happy to continue the conversation, as I said. If you've got any comments, chuck them down below. We did go a little bit longer. We've gone for 30 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed this. And look, I know sometimes people might think I come across as arrogant or condescending in this kind of tone. That's not what I'm trying to say here. I get frustrated when people are frustrated when I've been through that, but you just got to work out how to solve the problem. Work your way through, or don't do it. That's fine. But don't say it's just not worth it. It's not possible. It is possible. You just haven't figured it out yet. And that's okay. It takes time to figure it out. Lots of reps, lots of lessons, lots of learnings, ups and downs, trial and error. But you get a little bit better, and then it gets a little bit easier, and then you're able to do more of it. So more than happy to continue this conversation. Appreciate you all. You have a wonderful day, and we'll be back here next week doing it all again. Ciao.